Good evening and welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Buzz Thomas. I'm the interim superintendent of schools, and we appreciate you coming out to talk with us about rezoning in Knox County. I have several folks that I want to introduce. Just one second here. We have some elected officials with us that I want to acknowledge. I saw Councilman Nick Delavolpe when I walked in. Nick, are you here somewhere? All right, Councilman, thank you for being here. My old friend Dave Wright, who's the chair of our county commission. Chairman Wright, thank you so much. Dave comes to everything we do. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here tonight. Several of our school board members are here. I saw Gloria Deathridge. There she sits. Gloria, thank you, from the 1st District. I just saw Jennifer Owen come in. Jennifer's been in all these meetings. Jennifer, thank you so much. And my board chair and partner in the work, Patty Bounds, who's down here. And Mike McMillan would be here tonight, but he's got a close family friend in the hospital, and I talked to Mike on the phone, and I said, Mike, stay right where you are. You're doing what you need to do, and we'll worry about the rezoning tonight. So he sends his regards. So we are, as you know by now, building the best school system in the South here in Knoxville. We've made a lot of progress on that big goal that our county commission and school board set for us a few years ago, and we will continue in pursuit of that goal until it is true. It's almost true right now, but it will be true at some point in the near future, we believe, and we appreciate you all supporting us in that big, important effort. Not so we can pat ourselves on the back, but so that our children and our grandchildren have a bright future, because the only way to a bright future today is with a great school system. It's just the way the world is. So one of the things that we have to be able to do if we're going to be the best school system in the South is manage growth effectively. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk to you about how to do that. We're building 2 new middle schools in Knox County. So we're building a new Gibbs Middle School and a new Hardin Valley Middle School, and we'll be rezoning. We'll be drawing zone lines to accommodate these 2 new middle schools, and that will affect some existing schools. So we appreciate you all being here tonight and coming to talk to us. We're here mostly to listen tonight. So just in about 2 minutes, I'm going to turn to Russ Oakes from our office, who will kind of describe the process of getting from where we are right now to where we want to be. We do not have a proposal for you tonight. We are really just here to listen to you. But we will develop a proposal in the first week or so of March, and then we will come back and share it with you and get your input again, and then hopefully be able to present a plan to the Board of Education by May. That's our goal. We teach more than reading and math in our school system. We teach citizenship. And good citizenship has never been more important than it is now. And you know, it's like most things, we learn more by watching and doing than we do by listening. So it's a great opportunity for us as we stream this out to demonstrate what good citizenship looks like for our students. And I would say if there are 2 things that I've been most proud of at these meetings, one, nobody has said a bad thing about one of our schools. And that's a great tribute to our teachers and our principals and our board members that Knox County schools are doing so well. And the other is that people, no matter how strongly they felt or how emotional they got, they always managed to treat others with civility and respect. I've not heard one bad word, as my mama used to say. She was a teacher. She'd say, I better not hear one bad word come out of your mouth. And I haven't heard one bad word. and I haven't seen anybody be rude or disrespectful to anybody else. So we're going to try to treat you all with respect, and let's treat each other that way. One quick ground rule, because we got a lot of people here and lots of folks want to talk to us. Please try, when you want to say something, stand up, we'll get you a microphone, tell us who you are, so if we need to circle back, we can figure out how to find you and get more information. And try to limit your comments to 2 minutes, if at all possible, just so plenty of people have time to talk. And if you don't get a chance to talk or prefer not to have to stand up and talk, you can email us. Let me give you an email address. It's very, very simple. Even I can remember this one. See, I don't even have it written down. Rezoning. All right? Rezoning. R-E-Z-O-N-I-N-G at knoxschools.org. Rezoning at knoxschools.org. So we're capturing everything you say tonight, and we'll capture everything that you email to us. Thank you. Katie Lutton, where are you and your great staff? Thank you so much for hosting us here at Holston Middle School. And Russ Oaks, we look forward to your presentation.
Okay. Start off, we want to go through a few slides, just talk a little bit of process to you, and then we'll get everybody's comments. I want to tell you up front, the 7 or 8 slides that we're going to be using here are on our website if you want to go back and pick those up and refresh your memory later down the road. As the superintendent said, we're here tonight because we're building 2 new middle schools. Those schools are slated to open in August of 2018, about a year and a half from now. And the only way we can get kids into those schools is go through a rezoning process and have the Board of Education establish attendance zones for those schools. So we're looking at a capacity at the Gibbs Middle School of about 600 and the Hardin Valley Academy of about 1,200, and that's one of the considerations that we'll look at as we go through this process. Understand too that the Hardin Valley School is primarily being built to address what are the growth that we've experienced in that area and the projected growth that we're looking for in the northwest part of the county. And the Gibbs Middle School is primarily under construction to give the Gibbs community a middle school that is closer to the heart of their community. They currently come here to Holston Middle School, but the heart of the Gibbs community is about 20 miles north of here. So it's a significant sojourn either way for anything you do with the school. Having said that, that's an elevation of the new Gibbs Middle School that's under construction. Like I said, it'll be built for about 600 students. It'll have 51 classrooms, a total of about 141,000 square feet. It'll also have a 600 student auditorium or a 600 person auditorium. It'll have a gymnasium that'll be able to seat about 800. Talk a little bit about the process that we go through when we do zonings and we have to look at developing a school attendance area. Annually, we have a contract with the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and annually they provide us population forecasts that are based on a whole lot of different indicators, but a couple of those are the bursts that we're experiencing in the county and building permits that they're seeing. And then we at the school system and our enrollment office and zoning office will take those projections, and then they'll take what we know to be fact. And what we know to be fact is who's enrolled in the Knox County schools today. We'll take our actual student enrollment and we'll put those against the projections, the population projections we received from the MPC, and our folks will develop a projected enrollment for the coming year and for the next several years. So, and the numbers that we're looking at really cover about the next 5 years, because those are the numbers that we believe we can rely on to be relatively accurate. Once you get much past 5 years, you're into more art than science in trying to project those growth and the population patterns. There are some things, other things that we consider when we're putting together school zones. These are these 5 items at the bottom of the page. These are not in any kind of special order or any priority order. These may not be all of them, but these are primarily the items that we would consider. School capacity. Normally, we want to try to operate a school somewhere between 80 and 90% of its capacity, because that gives the school administration flexibility in how they develop their classes and in programming for students. And generally, when we're looking at capacity, we calculate it based on the number of teaching stations, the number of classrooms, times what our student-teacher ratio is for that particular school. So that's what gives us a rough number of what the capacity is. We also look at transportation and what the transportation networks in and out of that particular school look like, and in the environs immediately around the school, and how those come together and how we can get in and out. And I think one of the other things that we consider as we put our transportation plan together and put the attendance zones together is we don't want to be in a position where we're driving students past one middle school to get them to another. That's not an ideal situation. There are probably areas in the county where we do that, and they exist for one reason or another, but that's not where we want to start. Parent responsibility zones are also a consideration for us. In Knox County, we provide transportation for students who, at the middle school and high school level, live 1.5 miles beyond the school. And at the elementary level, it's within 1 mile of the school. And we calculate that distance based on the distance from the front door of the school to the front door of the residence. So it is a calculation made based on the shortest distance, shortest road distance to get to that. So it's not a simple circle on a map. We also have to consider our geographic and man-made boundaries. In Knox County, we have a number of ridge lines that present geographic boundaries to us. They run largely in parallel from the southwest portion of the county to the northwest portion of the county. And you can't cross those just any place. And those, we have to look at those closely as we draw the zone lines so that we're providing, it goes back to the transportation discussion that we were having just a second ago, or the transportation consideration, so that we're not running all over the county trying to get back and forth across ridge lines to get students to a specific school. So we need to have some sort of efficiency of effort in that regard. We also have 2 rivers that have a confluence here in the county, and that divides us up as well, because those have even fewer crossing points than do the ridge lines. So we have to consider those. Man-made boundaries for us, you look at interstate highways, those are a thoroughfare for some uses. For us, in many respects, they are a boundary or a barrier as well, and we have to determine how to get across those and through those as we put the plans together. And railroad tracks are an additional consideration that we have to have. We can't just cross a railroad any place, and there are some crossings and railroad underpasses in this county that we can't run a bus through. So you wind up having to go east to get west in some instances, and we want to try to avoid those if we can, or at least to account for them in some sort of efficient manner. And then the last bullet that we've got here is trying to, and we say congruent middle school and high school boundaries, but I could extend that to include elementary school and talk about congruent boundaries or matriculation patterns between our elementary, middle, and high school. And what I mean by that is we want to try to avoid creating pockets where we have 8, 10, 25 kids at a particular school that when it comes time for them to move to middle school or move to high school, they are the only 8, 10, 25 kids from that school that are moving to their new school. So we want to try to avoid those pockets, and as we go through the process, if we identify some of those, we want to try to fix those as we go through. Ideally, it would be wonderful if we could move all students from particular elementary schools and particular middle schools to particular high schools and have everybody move as a group. That's not really feasible for us. When you look, we've got 51 elementary schools that we're managing through that process. They're feeding what will soon be 16 middle schools, and those 16 middle schools feed 13 zoned high schools. We have more high schools than that, but we have 13 that are zoned. So the math doesn't work for you when you start looking at those matriculation patterns, but we do want to try to induce some sort of sanity into that process. This is our timeline for the process that we're going through. We started this discussion back in November. As Superintendent said, we're having 6 of these meetings before we put pencil to paper and come up with any proposals. So we'll finish this process up at next Tuesday evening at Vine Middle School. Then we'll begin the process of developing a plan, a proposed plan that we'll come back and share with the community in the March-April timeframe and let you all tell us how we got it wrong. And we'll go back and make the adjustments that we can to that and tweak that plan to be as respectful of the concerns that the community may have about that as we can, but understanding that we still have to have a workable plan. So we'll take that feedback, we'll tweak those plans, and then we'll come back in the spring and we'll provide something to the Board of Education for them to consider, understanding that it is the board that determines what attendance zones are and places students in schools, and they'll get the last word on that proposal. As we talk about some of the considerations specific to the zoning in the east and Gibbs Middle School, I think we have to consider that most of the students in the Gibbs community attend Holston Middle School. The Holston Middle School is, as I talked about earlier, is large. Holston sits at the end of a funnel shaped zone. And the new zoning plan that we're going to discuss has to address our geographic challenges and balance the attendance zones to the best of our ability, but we have to do that while avoiding creating any racial or demographic disparities within the zones. The school zones that potentially could be affected by this plan, well, excuse me, let me go back so I can find the school zones that could potentially be affected, well, let's try that again. I'm out of this. Let me just say the school zones, Abby, if you can get me back up, the school zones that potentially could be affected by this are Holston, Halls Middle, Whittle Springs, Gresham, Vine, and South Doyle Middle Schools. That's what we're looking at as part of the East County zoning discussion. Thank you, Abby. And those are in that 4th bullet there. This is the map of those zones around the county, so you can see how they're contiguous to one another, and as we look to address the various concerns that I've talked about up front, and also any of the concerns that you all may bring up and ask us to consider as we go through the process. And again, these slides are on our website. Just for information purposes, if you look at the schools that I have talked about or identified, these are the current capacities of those schools. These are the current enrollments at those schools. And these numbers we pulled in our, what we call our second reporting period, had been the September, October timeframe. So they may be off a little, but not much. And you can see there is a significant difference in the schools. Some are over or have a higher enrollment than what we would consider capacity. Some are significantly less than that. And this number right here indicates the additional capacity that we have available in this area of the county to address student needs and any growth or population changes. If we were to talk about, what can you tell me, if you were to ask me the question, what can you tell me about what the zone may look like? The only thing that I can tell you for sure that I'm relatively confident of is that if you live within 1.5 miles of Gibbs Middle School, you're probably going to be zoned to Gibbs Middle School, because that 1.5 miles is within the parent responsibility zone that I discussed, and we don't like to build school zones that go into another school's parent responsibility zone. We have situations like that around the county, and they're not ideal, and when we can address those, we try to do that. If we look at the schools around, that are around and in that area of the county, I would anticipate that as we look at the zones, that they would generally shift south and west as we're discussing the zone lines as it may need to be in order to balance the zones as I had discussed previously. So just to summarize, the new middle school is opening in August of 2018. Some of the things that we'd like to hear you all comment on and provide us insight on is what should be the structure for the new school. Should we open it with 3 grades, or should we open it with 1 grade, 6th grade, and grow it over a period of 3 years so that it becomes a fully enrolled school over a 3-year period? How should students be assigned? Should we have some sort of grandfather provision? And by grandfather provision, I mean, should the students that are at the terminal grades or the upper grades in a particular school have the option to remain at their current school rather than be rezoned to attend the new school? We've traditionally made that recommendation to the board in some form, and the board has traditionally approved some form of grandfathering when we have to do zoning. So it gives folks some options to consider with students that they currently have in school. And we'd like to hear your thoughts on that, and how deep should that be if we do that, and what should that look like. The other thing to talk about is how to grow the community of the school. These are 2 new schools. They'll have 2 new school communities. The fact that we're zoning into these 2 new schools will, in some cases, significantly change the population of an existing school or the community of an existing school. So how do we grow those? What are the processes on that? And how would you like to see that go together? I think perhaps one of the best examples that I'm most familiar with is when we opened Hardin Valley Academy. 8 or 9 years ago now. It seems like yesterday, but 8 or 9 years ago, that school had a PTA that was up and functional a year before they had any students. It had a PTA before it had a filled out staff. So that's how they grew the community of that school and pulled the school in, so that the community was involved in making some of the final decisions that had to be made in the construction of the school. So that's what we've got at this point. What we'd like to do is to turn the floor over to you all and let you all tell us what your concerns and thoughts are, and the things that we need to consider that you consider to be most important. And again, we'll collect all of this and post all of this information on our website, so it'll be available for everybody to review as we go forward. And it'll be a source for us to review as we begin process of developing a proposal. Yes, sir.
John Butler, just for clarification, can you go back to the map?
I'm having trouble tonight, but we'll try.
And so we see where Holston Middle School is located, and we understand that about 500 kids that normally would go to Holston are now going to go to Gibbs.
Well, we haven't
approximately.
drawn any lines yet.
But approximately, because you got it's zoned for 600, so,
It won't be more than 600.
right, but it may be 500, 450.
I have to wait and see till we draw the lines on this. I really, it would
Okay.
be it's speculative to me because we really haven't drawn any lines.
Let me just choose 500 then. And then we have Holston where it is, and then you look at Carter School, and you see how far Carter Zone dips into the urban community, and it dips
Comes all the
past,
way in here.
it dips past Holston
Yep.
and fairly close to Vine.
Yes, sir.
And then we see how close South Doyle goes into Vine. And I know that Vine's 1.5 mile
This
radius.
is one of those areas I was talking about where we were zoned into another
Right.
school's PRZ.
So if we can go to the next slide then, please. And we see that Carter is over already. And we see that Holston is already down 324. So even if you take 400 kids away, you're still going to be short. So there is a community concern of two things. One is the underutilization of the schools in our community that our kids go to. Also, there's a concern about these schools being closed. And I know it's been said more than one time that that's not the case, but still, that's a concern. So what I would like to see, and I think a lot of people in the community like to see, is that Carter community, those kids down there, they're riding the bus a long ways to get to Carter. They could go to Holston or Vine, and then the kids that's closer to Vine can stop going to South Doyle, and they can go to Vine, and do the same thing at the elementary school level.
Yeah, so make sure I'm following what you're saying. You would like for us to sort of unwind this little piece right here and then look at what we can do about shortening that bus ride right there. Okay.
Those Holston Hill kids, those kids that live in that east or west part of the Carter, send them to Holston or Vine.
Okay.
In other words, send kids to the schools that's closest to their community so they can have community schools just like everybody else.
Got it. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Seth Grossman, and I have 2 children at Shannondale Elementary School, and I don't have as many questions for you, but just kind of a statement. We met last week at Shannondale, about 100 families, and I heard this gentleman speak a lot about community. And you talked a little bit, Russ, about what are these schools going to do when they start up. I don't think you're going to have a problem out at Gibbs. I think they're chomping at the bit, ready to get going. So just give me my 2 minutes of time to hear, and I think if I take up a little bit more, I kind of speak for some other people at Shannondale as well. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to let us come out here and speak. It means a lot to me and the folks at Shannondale. It's a difficult thing you have to do here, looking at that board. We know that. I'm sure you got a lot of information to compile. When I first heard that a new middle school was being built in Gibbs, I was happy for them, and I still am. They wanted what every other small town strives for, a sense of pride in their community through education and schools. From elementary to middle school to high school, the chance to have their kids grow up in a tight-knit community with a school system that supports their growth. To wear their team's colors on Friday nights and cheer together at a football game, to excel in the classroom and make a difference in their communities and beyond, to know that when people are talking about their schools, they're also talking about what a great place it is to live and raise a family. Well, they are getting what we already have and have had for a long time, and we don't feel like we should lose. I'm talking about people in Fountain City and in Shannondale and the Gresham community. I'm here tonight to make sure you hear loud and clear that our community does not want does not want to and should not get ripped apart with this rezoning, even though it's going to be very hard. Why? Well, first of all, it's history. Bear with me. Fountain City was established in 1890. Central High School, established in 1906. In 1919, Hassie Gresham was named principal and served in that role for almost 30 years. When Central moved, they named the middle school after her. That's history. That is our Fountain City community. It's what it's built upon. Shenandoah Elementary is a part of that history. For decades, if you know people that have gone to Shenandoah, they've gone from Shenandoah to Gresham to Central. It's just the way it is. You're a Hornet, right? Start as a Hornet, then you're a Gladiator, and then you're a Bobcat. That's why people choose to live here. That's why we bought homes here. We are proud of our community and history. Our schools work together. 7 years ago, Shenandoah started a foundation to give our kids more technology in the classroom. In that time, we have raised close to $400,000. That has led us to forming the only self-funded, full-time STEM program in all of Knox County elementary schools. Our families made that happen. Our Fountain City community partners made that happen. That is part of our history. Gresham Middle School also has a foundation that was established by many of those same families that started the Shenandoah Foundation. Gresham Middle School also has a STEM program, and when our kids make the transition from Shenandoah to Gresham, they're prepared. They're one step ahead of the game. Ask the teachers, ask the administrators, ask the families, and most importantly, ask the kids. We made that happen. Our community made that happen. That is part of our history. Our kids and our families are Shenandoah strong, Fountain City proud. Our kids play youth baseball at Fountain City Ballpark and basketball at Gresham. They cheer for the baby Bobcats. They spend Friday nights in the fall wearing red and black and cheering on Central. They go to Fountain City Park to play, and they get a burger at Litton's. If you start altering that and changing it up to fill a school, you will ruin what took so long to establish, and you will disappoint so many people in the process. You'll rip apart our history. You'll rip apart a way of Knoxville's history. I ask you, we ask you not to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Shauna Hedman. I have twin girls here at Holston, and they're in 6th grade. And I've got one that's a cheerleader and one that's a basketball player. And I'm very proud of that because that's a big accomplishment for my girls, the 6th graders. And I look, in their 8th grade year, they could be made to go to another school. Or they may stay here. I don't know, because I don't know where the zones are going to fall. But on the 6th grade basketball team here, or the basketball team, we've got 4 6th graders, for example. They should have a strong 8th grade year. They've got a coach that they love that loves them. So I have a problem with kids that have grown to love a school, and we love this school. I'm telling you, the administration, the teachers here are amazing. My kids love the school, I love the school, and I have a problem with 8th graders getting pulled out of their school and sent somewhere else. Or even if you say, well, let's grandfather them in if they want to be, you're still maybe going to divide that team that's worked so hard to be together. Or you're going to divide that show choir that thought they were going to be amazing next year because they had these 6th and 7th graders that worked together, and then all of a sudden they're split. So coming from me, a parent that has kids that are involved, and most kids are involved in something, once they've been with a teacher for 6th and 7th grade, 2 years already, and I'm talking those extracurricular things, that 8th grade year is important. And when you pull that away from them and you put them somewhere new for that 1 year, they lose that importance of that year. So I'm in favor of staggering the opening of the schools, at least by 8th grade. Maybe you start it with just 6th and 7th, but I really think you should start it with 6th and then open it 7th and then open it to 8th. You know, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen, but I know it will affect a lot of 8th graders that have put a lot into their school and into their sport or their beta club or whatever. That's going to be ripped away from them if they're either made to go somewhere else or half of their school goes somewhere, or players or whatever goes somewhere else. And that's a big concern for me as a parent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Someone out there.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak this evening. What that young man said about how proud he was of his school, I share that same enthusiasm. I reflect on my son, went to Austin East, graduate valedictorian in 2012, along with being Mr. Austin East, graduate with a 4.113 grade average. So yes, it's good to be proud of your community schools and support your schools. However, I am concerned about zoning, and I attended every meeting thus far. I am a member of the NAACP. I work on the executive committee. And to give some people a better understanding of the OCR complaint. The complaint was not even an evil intention. It was not sneakily done. It was not swept under the cover. We purposely approached those in high authority to consider first rezoning. If that was done, we wouldn't have these meetings now. But the decision was made, and now here we are, all communities coming together, standing up for our community schools. And so, you know, I'm kind of disturbed about that, because I think if it had been done accurately, and the research should have been done prior to these meetings, you know, we wouldn't have to go through this. We all want our children in our schools within walking distance. We all want the best for our children. I'm not upset that Gibbs got a new school, congratulations, and I am not upset because Hardin Valley got a school. But what I am upset is consider our children first. Do not compromise our children to fill up the capacities of these schools. It's not right, it's not fair, and when you think about some children, please think about all children and not a selected few. And I thank you, and I just hope you do really think about this zoning, because it's a hurting feeling. You know, I'm very protective of Austin East. My husband and I, we served on the PTSO, so we worked the school. But I want you, please think about those children on the east side. When you all get together, board members, and decide this zoning, think about their safety as a whole. Thank you for the privilege, and I thank you for the opportunity to listen to me.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Casey Engel, and I live right in the middle of Gibbs community. When they do open the school, I would love for the opportunity for the kids who want to stay at Holston to get to finish out their middle school career here or go on to Gibbs. I was a part of the rezoning when they moved Gibbs to Fulton, and they gave us the option to stay at Gibbs if we had the transportation, or we could go on and go to Fulton like I had to because they didn't have buses. But it would be it would help a lot of families if we could either keep our kids here if they want to stay, or go ahead and send them to school that's really close to our houses and where my other children will be in that area. So that would just.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Rachel Harris. I have 2 children at Gibbs Elementary. We're at the very tail end of the Gibbs Elementary zone, and we're just very concerned about our children being separated from those classmates that they've gotten to know that we're currently zoned for Gibbs Elementary and Gibbs High School, and really want to make sure that those students are considered to all be together for contingency all the way through middle school as well.
Okay, just to make sure I understand what you're talking about. When you talk about the tail end of the Gibbs Elementary
We're in
zone,
the
are you talking
end
about
of
this
my
tail
street.
end or this tail end?
The end of my street stops Gibbs Elementary zoning, so we are equal distance between Holston Middle School and Gibbs Middle School.
Okay,
And since we're at Gibbs Elementary and Gibbs High School, we are very interested in making sure that that's how our girls get to go.
okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't have any kids in middle school. I don't have any kids in elementary, nor do I have any kids in high school. However, I am a public servant. I am also third vice president of the NAACP. And I do care about our children. I work with the youth in the communities, in Lonsdale community, in Mechanicsville community, in Austin Homes, in Walter P. I'm in the community with the children, seeing what they're going through. When we start pulling the kids out of their neighborhoods, they can no longer play football in school when they're being bused because they can't go to practice because there's no bus to take them home after practice is over. So we're not giving all of our children the same opportunities. I had the opportunity of actually studying the last OCR report, the last complaint that was filed, 1991. I grew up, I went to Lonsdale, I went to Sammy Hill, I went to Beardsley, and I went to Rule High School. Well, 2 of those schools have disappeared. There's still not a feeder school in that community. Yet we've built 2 brand new schools. Praise God, where did we get the money? It was a lot of money. But we've built 2 brand new schools. One, we can say population growth. That's what all the tests and surveys that we did, we can justify that school. But we have 11, I think you said 16 middle schools, 2 brand new, 14 already under enrollment. So where's the justification? That's the numbers you showed.
No, ma'am.
Then
We
if
have
we-
14 middle schools. I didn't show
Okay,
14
so-
under enrollment.
12, that's counting Hardin Valley and Gibbs, right?
We have, no. We currently have 14 middle schools.
So with
When
2
Hardin
that's
Valley and Gibbs
in
open, we will
process,
have
that's
16.
16. So I think that was good. Based upon the last OCR complaint that was filed, we have not even completed those steps. We're yet waiting for that to be complete. Now this is the second OCR complaint on top of that one. So now we're compiling the problem. The rezoning is going to happen. It has to happen. We just spent $70 million on 2 schools. We're gonna use those schools. So it has to happen, but we're also gonna lose 2 schools. Y'all can do the math. We're gonna lose 2 more schools.
I just want to make it clear, and we've had this question at several of the community meetings we've had about shuttering schools, and I don't know of any discussion that has occurred along those lines or any thoughts that have occurred along those lines, and I don't think the superintendent does either. So those are not discussions that we have had or contemplated at this point. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I live in the Gibbs community now. I've lived there for almost 12 years. I have a daughter that's in the elementary school at Gibbs, and I have a daughter that's in Holston. My morning consists of getting us up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have to get both girls up and ready, lunch is ready and out the door. I have to be at work I'm supposed to be at work at 7:45. Due to my distance and drive, they don't ride the bus. I choose to drive them to school, both of them. I also carpool 2 other children in with me to the Holston community. I love Holston. Holston is great for my daughter. She is in 7th grade. She will be 8th grade next year. But by the time the school is built, she'll be in the high school, which is awesome because she'll be back on my side of town. My daughter will be starting the middle school, which is amazing. You do not know how much of a blessing this is because I will have them both on my side of town in my front door. And I have been, I worried about it, the drive, when my daughter hit middle school, but we love Holston, like I said. It's been great. She's enjoyed it. But I still feel that she would still have plenty of friends and her community friends with her when she does move, with my daughter moving into the elementary school, because we do still have a lot of neighbor children there that she can just follow into the school. So I'm very grateful, and I hate the rezoning, but you all just, I can't even make it to work on time with both of my kids at these distance apart. This has been such a blessing for my family, and I believe the Gibbs community will bust out the seams when this middle school gets up there. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Joseph Smith. I'm a resident of Holston Hills. I'm a pastor in the Lonsdale community. And my concern is, I'm glad you brought up the fact of why you built the schools, you know, and I congratulate all the communities in having a community school of 20 miles. But if that's going to be the standard of building schools, it ought to be equitable the county-wide. It shouldn't be where one can get a school in their community and the other one goes past 20. Because right now, even to say from Burleson, that's zoned all the way out to Carter. And that goes against about the reason you build a school. And I appreciate that because I would want it. But my concern is some of us are talking because we're privileged. I live, pastor, serve a place in the Lonsdale community where there's no middle school. There's no high school. Even the inner schools that are there, been there 40 or 50 or 60 years. And you know what I see as if, and we're having trailers to accommodate that. And somehow or another, I see a disparity in looking at that because if 20 miles is the standard, then it ought to be countywide. I'm for fairness. I'm for dealing with every child because, listen, I have learned, I hear what people say, but I trust what you do. Because when you build Hardin Valley, you bust kids right out of the Austin East area to get some students to go out there. So somehow or another, I hear what you're saying. But listen, I've been around the block a couple of times. I'm saying I'm watching what you do, and I need us to make sure what you tell me, you do it, because I see a lot of disparities. And I would love to come and share with you some more, but that's a very concern. And I think every community ought to have the luxury of having a community school, but I'm in a community where you don't have it at all. In one area, our kids go to 5 different high schools, 2 or 3 different middle schools, and I see that's not fair.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question. I have a student here at Holston, and we love Holston. We love this middle school. But I have a younger daughter in elementary school. So if we love a school, and this will affect my youngest daughter. If we love a school, I don't know if I'll be zoned to Gibbs. I don't really know if I'll be zoned to Holston. We'll see. But we really love Holston. What will you guys do and there are several of us, we don't know where we're going to fall. So if we fall at Gibbs, but we've already fallen in love with Holston because of our older children, what are you going to do if we want to say I fall supposed to be going to Gibbs, but what if I want to come to Holston because I know the school, I know the teachers? How are you going to work that out? I mean, we bought our homes thinking, okay, this is where we're zoned, this is our trajectory, and now it's not.
You're talking about outside of a grandfather process.
Right, because my youngest is in 3rd grade right now, so there won't be any grandfather. This will not affect my 7th grader.
Let me give you a little information, and I don't know that this is widely known, but it's certainly not secret information. We have a pretty robust transfer program.
Right, and I do know that. So
we've got, for example, between 70 and 80% of the folks who ask for a transfer get granted a transfer.
What is that percentage again?
Between 70 and 80% that ask for a transfer get a transfer. There are some schools that have a longer waiting list than others, and those are the ones that frustrate that number a little bit and cause it to be between 70 and 80 as opposed to between 90 and 100. But just so you understand, about 11% of the kids that are in the Knox County schools go to school somewhere other than the school they're zoned to. So that's how robust the transfer process is. So if there's someplace you want to go and you don't necessarily live in that zone, there is a significant option available to you.
Okay, and since you're on that subject, how hard is it to transfer into the L&N STEM Academy?
The L&N is one of those schools with a significant waiting list. Yeah.
It's a lottery.
All of our transfers are. Okay.
Okay, I have
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question. I have twins who will come to Holston 6th grade next year. We live 11 miles from Gibbs, 11 miles from Holston. My daughter has been taking baton lessons since she was 2.5, and the only thing that she has talked about is making the majorette line here at Holston, which she will try out for in May. So I would like to see the kids who are already here grandfathered in, and I know it's selfish, but for an 11-year-old, that means a lot. She has worked really hard for this. And this is something that she has wanted to do. Her older two brothers went to Holston. Even though we live in Gibbs, we do not always feel welcome in Gibbs. And I know that may come to a shock to some people, but yes, I have a college-age student and a high school student, and both of them have had issues being in the Gibbs community. Neither one of them go to Gibbs High School, but you know, there are some people that live in that community that do not feel welcome there. And I'm not sure that sending my children to a school that they do not feel welcome in would be a good fit for my family, because it will cause some issues for us.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Clarita Buffalo. I live in Holston Hills. I sit on the board of Town Hall East, and I have just some thoughts. My kids went to Catholic schools. I went to Catholic high school down on Magnolia. As a resident of Holston Hills, I remember when Holston High School was the community school here, and it was closed along with Rural when the rezoning happened in 91 or 92. You can correct me on my years. However, let the Gibbs people have their school, their middle school. These kids do not need to be on buses daylight to dark. Why not consider this school Holston Middle right now has had a lot of money put into it. Why don't you make it a school within a school and make this a STEM academy? Let it feed into the STEM academy or let this be a magnet school to feed into STEM academy downtown, and also to feed into the career magnet school at Pillissippi State at Straw Plains Pike. That way you're going to have kids that aren't going to be on a bus for daylight to dark. You're going to have community schools, and you're going to have better prepared students for a better future.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
ma'am.
My name is Cynthia Finch. I live in the Holston area on Delta Road, which is just a little bit past where the Comcast is, so you kind of know where I live. My question is in regards to the Gibbs school that has been built. What is the capacity number you have?
600.
And how many kids you think will come there if nobody came from Holston or how many you think will be there
That would come from,
from the Gibbs community?
Some have to come from Holston.
I'm
because
not,
it's being
well, I'm
built
asking a
in that
question. What
zone.
if none came? How many would you have? Would you have 300?
I
Would you
don't
have
know.
400?
We haven't drawn a line yet.
So I'm not talking about lines. I'm saying if nothing happened today and you built, the school's already going up, and you have a community that's a wonderful Gibbs and people live there, and you would have 300 or 400 that will come possibly, and you need another, don't get them from any place. Just open the school with a number of people there and find a community, find other purposes that communities need for a building. One of the things that happens across the country is we build these big boxes and we don't have them, we use them during the daytime, they're not used in the afternoon. So all I'm saying is don't move anybody. Let everybody stay where they're at. Let the Gibbs school open with the people in the Gibbs community that need to go there, drive 11 miles, 20 miles, and go to Gibbs school so you got 400. And that's all you get if you don't move anybody else. But then you take that school and you find other uses for it. In the afternoon, on the weekends. So that's just my suggestion. Then everybody will be happy. She'll get to have her kids to be majorettes. She'll get to have her kids to stay where they are and go on to the 8th grade and feed to another school. So all I'm saying is be creative, think out the box, don't move anybody.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I am Carolyn Chandler. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught in Knox City and Knox County schools for 38 and a half years. My concern is if Gibbs does not want, that community does not want their students bused down here, when these kids get in the 8th grade or going to middle school, are you going to come down here and bus students to the high school?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm following that.
When they leave Gibbs High School, are you going to bus the kids in this community up to Gibbs?
We've not discussed any kind of changes to the high school zone, no.
Okay. I have gone through I've gone through the OCR changes. I guess you can tell that since I've been in the school system 38 and a half years. But I finished up my career at Southdale High School. We had students from this community coming to Southdale High School. They could not play sports or participate in any activities because of transportation. At one time, they started running a bus for kids. They had to be at Southdale Middle School now, and then they would bus them back to East Knoxville, and that stopped. So, you know, you have to think about this too. If you can't bus them down here, then we shouldn't be bused up there. Okay?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Porter, and I'm the first vice president of the NAACP. If you can indulge me just for a moment, I'm going to call out some schools here, and hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. Carter Elementary, Carter Middle, Carter High School. Southdale Elementary, Southdale Middle, Southdale High School. Halls Elementary, Halls Middle School, Halls High School. Bearden Elementary, Bearden Middle, Bearden High School. I think you kind of get my drift where I'm going with this. Community schools. But when we talk about rezoning and the schools that are in Mechanicsville, Lonsdale, Beaumont, we get Maynard, Beaumont, Lonsdale, bus to Northwest, Bearden Middle, Whittle Springs, and probably another middle school that I don't have listed here. Bus to Fulton, Central, West, Bearden, and South Doyle. The gentleman that left, and he spoke about the history of his community of Fountain City. Well, when the city schools was closed and went out of business many years ago, then community schools left our community as well. The communities of Mechanicsville, Lonsdale, East Knoxville, and we can name the schools. I don't have any kids in school at this point, but I do have nieces, nephews, children that I teach at church, grandchildren coming along. So it really behooves us to think about how we're rezoning and what we're doing in our city when we do this. This is, this has been going on since, gosh, I went to public school all my life. Chancellor Elementary, Sam Hill, Beardsley, Austin East. So I am a product of the public education system, but I have watched over the years in terms of history, we start losing our history and nobody says anything. Everything just, we are bussed here to and fro, and we bear the brunt of it most of the time. So what I would like to see is, again, when we start thinking about and rezoning, think about what we're doing to our communities. The housing situation, that's another whole different situation. I live in the Gibbs community. I live right in back of Gibbs High School. And needless to say, Gibbs will have Gibbs Elementary, Gibbs Middle, Gibbs High School. So if you understand where I've gone with this, then let's understand how we should be rezoning our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Bowles, and I have a first grader at Shenandoah Elementary. I'm originally from South Knoxville, but I've lived in the Fountain City community for the past 7 years. My daughter went to a preschool in Fountain City, met some friends there. At that particular place that we used to live, she was zoned for an elementary school where she wouldn't have any of her friends from the preschool. So we up and moved over into the Shenandoah community so she could be with those, a lot of those kids that she went to preschool with, expecting her to then go to middle school with them and then high school as I did in South Knoxville and her dad did in Morristown. Well, now our subdivision, Wingate subdivision, and there's quite a few of us here this evening, we are literally right kind of front and center of this zone line. Our entrance into our community is on Washington Pike, but we are strongly rooted in the Fountain City community. I kind of checked the student directory, and from addresses that are listed, we have about 25 students listed in Shenandoah. 15 of those, or out of those 25 students, 15 parents are very active in Shenandoah Elementary. We have presidents of the PTO, vice president of the PTO, and then those parents also have, many of them, kids in Gresham Middle. So we are focused, on keeping our kids with their friends, keeping what we have established. And you take those 25 kids and divide it by 6, that's approximately maybe 4 kids, because, excuse me, I guess maybe I should back up. We're looking at our kids probably going to Holston when you redo the zoning. When I'm, as an educated woman looking at the lines, I'm thinking if you're pushing west and south, our subdivision's first to go. So you take those 25 kids, you divide it up, so we're looking at a handful, literally 4.1 something kids per year being pulled from our subdivision to go to Holston. So it's pretty much like we're just up and moving our kid and they're not gonna know anyone. And then they're gonna go there for 3 years, have to make new friends, try to do the best they can, but middle school's rough anyway, emotionally. So they're gonna, make their friends, and then they're gonna go back to Central. So we're kind of now put in the position that Gibbs was put in, and that's not fair to us. I wouldn't have purchased my home the end of 2015 in my subdivision had I thought that's what I was gonna potentially do to my child, because that's not fair to her. So it's like we're getting punished from Gibbs getting a new middle school, and I was very happy for them, naively not thinking it was gonna affect me, my community, and my child. So if you all can please take the children in consideration and think about, you're taking middle schoolers. If you think about how rough middle school was, and you're gonna be throwing them in where they know no one, that's not fair to them. So please consider that. Thank you.
Got it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Toma Battle. I have 6 children at Austin East right now and 2 at Vine Middle. I am zoned for Dogwood Elementary, South Dole Middle, and Austin East. If I didn't transfer my children to within the parent responsibility zone of Vine, because they can't take the bus from my house to their middle school because it's within the parent responsibility zone. That has happened, as I understand it, years and years and years, where our kids are going across a bridge, and many times there are hurt feelings, there's bad feelings, there's a misunderstanding of why parents aren't involved and why there's not more parent engagement. And it has an awful lot to do with the impracticality of having to go in and out of your neighborhood to be a part of a school. Historically, and it's not just a Knoxville thing, historically, African American and minority children get bused outside of their communities in extremely higher percentages than any other group. So I feel for those parents that want to be able to have everything in their community, But this has been happening to some groups for a really long time. And I think, especially with the number of children that I have in school, I'm kind of tired of it. And I have 15 kids altogether, 10 still at home. We've adopted some children, yes, and I didn't have all those kids. But my point is this. I got a lot of kids. And if I, as a parent, if I was working a 9 to 5 and didn't have flexibility, there is absolutely no way I could be involved if I didn't transfer my children into the community so they could go to school. It's not possible. So, and I understand that somebody, no matter what happens, someone is going to be inconvenienced. But when you look historically and look at what's happening right now, there's a child that we babysit for that lives behind Austin East, a little boy, who's zoned for elementary school at Spring Hill, across I don't know how many different streets. That doesn't make any sense. That stuff needs to be fixed. And that doesn't just start with middle school. It starts at the elementary. Had I known when we moved here that Green was right here and Saramore Green was right here if I was standing on my roof, my kids are going across a bridge and have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to catch a bus at 6:15, 6:30 to get to school. Elementary school, kindergarten kids, that doesn't make any sense. I really don't understand how come they have to be the first ones at school anyway, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
I want to just make a comment. Thank you, Toma. Toma has been at a couple of our meetings, and her husband, Pastor Chris Battle. And first of all, if I had a trophy with me, I'd give it to you for being such great parents of those 15 kids. If I had a lot of trophies with me tonight, I would give them to a lot of you all, because I don't know, I'm sure your children don't know how lucky they are to have advocates like you. I wish every single one of our kids had one parent like you, and I know that a lot of you families, you got two parents, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I've heard a few assumptions in the room tonight that I want to make sure you don't make, like the lady from Shannondale, thank you for your statement. Please don't assume we're going to zone you into another district. My intention is that we move as few people as possible, that we keep families together, we try to protect neighborhoods and center our schools in neighborhoods and draw lines as congruent as we can between levels of school, so people like Toma don't have kids, going, they go here at elementary and over here to middle and over here to high. So please don't assume the worst about this, because we're hearing you. And I'm very, very hopeful that we can come up with a plan that will meet your concerns. I've also realized that we're going to have to make pretty liberal use of grandfathering and transferring, because each of you are individuals, and some of your families want to keep all the kids together, and some of you want to do this, and some of you want to do that, and we need to be very accommodating of you, especially during the first few years that these new schools are open. So I want you to know we're hearing that, and I don't want you to take to Facebook tonight and, man the ramparts, because we got to fix the thing. Nothing's broken yet. And we're going to come back with a proposal to you that we hope will be a good proposal, and then we're going to listen again. And then we're going to go back and correct our mistakes and then come to our school board. And I can tell you that nobody cares more about kids in our community than our school board members. So I feel like together this process is going to eventually get us where we want to go. But I just wanted to make sure you don't assume that your child's going to get moved. I'm assuming going in that we're going to move very few people.
My name is Christina Shipley. And right now, my son is now attending Shenandoah, but he has been a casualty of the previous zoning. When we moved here from the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota, we stayed with family members and then transferred over. Originally, my son attended kindergarten and first grade at Shenandoah and met lots of friends and was on an IEP. And then when we moved to the new place that we live now, the zones changed right before he went into second grade. And we have Rita 2 miles from us, Carter 2 miles from us, and Shenandoah 2.5 miles from us. He was shipped all the way to Gibbs, which was 8 miles from us. As a single mother who has transportation problems, this created a hardship. My son has disabilities, so I'm going to ask that you will consider, just like the parents with the disparities in the community, I want the children at Lonsdale and at South Doyle to get the same education across the board as our kids are getting at the fantastic education at Shenandoah, the same across the board, consistency. But please also take into consideration the children that have disabilities, because if you change or uproot their routines from their, like if they're a hidden disability that can't be seen, it uproots and it takes twice as long to reestablish and readjust the problems that are created. And I want every child to feel welcomed in the communities and accepted and get the same education, and not just the children. The parents need the help and the support too. Single parents, moms and dads out here that are struggling need the community resources and need to be taken into consideration and help as well. Transportation is a huge problem. I have 3 buses that pass by my house every day, and to this day my son still does not have a means to get to school. I've had to rely on myself to get him other parents and other families who's been very kind and generous and opened their arms to us. So please take this into consideration when these parents are talking and how it affects them. Thank you.
John, you've already talked once. I'm not going to let you talk yet. Let's wait just 1 second. Let's make sure everybody that hadn't had a chance. Yes, Ms. Hensley.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Hensley. I'm the principal at Chihawi Intermediate School. And what I would like to know, I was part of the original OCR complaint in 91, 92, when we was rezoning schools, creating magnet schools, shutting down schools. And one of the things that I would like to know, what is the transition plan that we have in place for these students who are going to be rezoned? Because rezoning is going to happen, I'm sorry. That is part of the growth of Knox County schools. But I was involved in the rezoning when kids came and was bused to South Door Middle School. And I saw what they went through. And so we need to have a plan in place to make that transition as positive as we can. Because a community is not a building. It's the people in that building that makes you feel like you're part of that community. So that is what I want to ask. What plan do we have in place for the students and the families that we're going to rezone?
We don't have a plan, Sherry. We don't even have a zone yet. Sherry works for us, so she knows we don't even have a zone yet, much less a plan.
Well,
but I think I'd like to turn your question into a statement, if that's okay. We need to have a plan when we rezone.
And I think what you're talking about is what I was trying to get to when we were talking about how do you build the community of the school, and that's part of that process.
Hi, my name is Nick Delavolpe.
You're live.
Anyway, I've lived in this Holston Hills area for 43 years, whatever, and I got to tell you that, and you hear it from all the people in here, schools are some of the most important things that affect people's location and the solidity of their communities. And I know that you all are struggling and working hard to try to make this as painless as possible, but I cannot tell you over the years how many families we have had that, you know, grew up there, had their kids start to get to a certain age, and they would move to West Knoxville or some other place to get their kid in a good school. And for too long, and I'm not talking about y'all that are running the world now, but for too long, We have built schools in West Knoxville because there was growth, and that was a self-fulfilling prophecy. People had more growth. They built one on Westland Drive. I guess it was an elementary school that was going to fill a need, and there was more kids in subdivisions by the time the doors opened. So it's important that we have good schools in every area, and I commend you for looking at that. But think about it, when you start affecting the one thing parents can give their kids other than maybe a sense of ethics and morality, if you start affecting schools, you will tear up neighborhoods, so be very careful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I just have a really quick question. I'd like to put some faces with some names. If we could have like school board members stand up and county and city council so we know who our representatives are, so we know who to talk to.
Yes, would our school board members please stand up here? Our 3 school board members, Gloria Dadridge from the 1st District, Jennifer Owen from the 3rd, 2nd, Tony's from 3rd, and Patty, yeah, I don't have all this memorized, Patty Black. Patty is our board chair and from the Halls and Powell community. Dave Wright, chairman of the county commission, was here earlier. Councilman Della Volpe is here. Evan Gill, another commissioner who is here tonight from the 1st District, right behind you. Commissioner Gill. Thank you, Commissioner Gill. Glad to have you here tonight. Thank you all. I know we're getting late. We're almost at our 7:30. Other folks that haven't had a chance to speak, and I'm going to give my good friend Reverend Bowen the last word here in just a minute. So I'm counting on you to concur. Okay, Katie Lutton, our principal. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Jeff Graham. I have kids at Shannondale. One thing that I know that some people are concerned about, and I'd love to hear feedback on, is I feel like the community has given a lot of input, has expressed a lot of concerns, and it's been a great opportunity to be able to do that. We're worried that when the decision-making process actually takes place, that we've heard a few times now, we're going to make a decision, that's when the transparency will disappear. And we're worried that behind closed doors, the concerns that we've expressed, the issues that we've brought up, won't be given the consideration that we feel as a community are most important. How can we, or what assurances can we be given that the transparency will remain, that we'll be able to get clear answers about how the decision was made other than the criteria we were given at the
Well, I think the assurance is the process that we put in place, because we told you when we develop a draft proposal, we're going to bring it back to you all before we take it to the Board of Education, so you all can talk to us about it, and we'll tweak that based on your concerns you indicate there. And then when we tweak that and we bring it back or bring it to the Board of Education for them to consider, those are all public meetings, and that's public discussion and public process too. So I think we've got continued public process throughout this over the remainder of the winter and into the spring. Does that help?
I think we're worried that it's one-sided. We're very transparent and we tell you to decide. And so the question is, we want to be sure that the decision-making is also transparent.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I can assure you it will be. I mean, that's, yeah, I was going to say, there will be more public meetings. It will be very transparent. And we'll be doing the same kind of thing for our budgeting process this year. So you're going to see us a whole lot more than you want to see us, trust me. All right, Reverend Butler, I'm going to give you almost the last word. I am going to give the principal the last word over here.
Thank you for another opportunity to speak. I just wanted to make sure, on one of the slides, maybe in the second slide, you had one of the reasons was that racial disparity or concern about racial disparity. I'm not sure.
There.
Right there.
Yes.
The third bullet.
Avoiding the creation of racial and demographic disparities. And I believe that part of the reason why the African American communities and urban communities have been bused as they have been was to try to have as much racial diversity as possible. But the greatest disparity is that you're busing black kids more than you're busing white kids. And you're busing black communities more than you're busing white communities. That's a greater disparity. That hurt and harm our kids more. So, the Knoxville branch, and I'm the president of the Knoxville branch NAACP, we've had this discussion. The Knoxville branch NAACP is not as much concerned about the racial makeup of giving schools, as long as the schools, that we have community schools in all of our communities. That means we need to look at Lonsdale, Mechanicsville, Beaumont, Western Heights, to have community schools, and we need to look at bringing those kids back across the bridge and back from Carter and all the other places that we bus them to get that. But also we gotta have top-notch schools in every community, state-of-the-art buildings, 21st century curriculum, and great teachers and great administrators, and we have those in our schools, and we want to maintain those.
Thank you very much, Reverend Butler. Katie Lutton.
Well, I'm Katie Lutton. I'm the principal here at Holston Middle School, and this is my first year as principal here. I feel like I've actually been adopted, and rightly so. I've felt nothing but welcomed here at the school. And if you look around, we have very dedicated members of the faculty and parents here because they're invested in this school too. To the gentleman who spoke about Shannondale, I came from Central High School. I was there for 3 years. I get Fountain City pride. I completely understand that to a T. But I will say this, there's not going to be any vitriol from me. I know that Holston Middle School is going to be affected. It is. It's going to be affected a lot by this decision because right now Holston Middle School is a community school that serves the Gibbs community, right? Like you said, it's in the bottom of a funnel. But just a history lesson, Gibbs Middle School opened in '84, and it was unceremoniously closed in 1992. You know, I mean, that's 8 years, and I'd be angry too if I were a community. But this is a school that has a steep history. As some of you know, this was once a high school, an illustrious high school that served the Holston Hills, the Chilhowie Hills community. And Spring Hill fed into that high school, right? We became a middle school based on the OCR complaint back in 1991. And we've served as a middle school to the Gibbs school community for the last, nearly 25 years. I guess my concern, and I think that, and I know I've echoed some of the people who have talked today, but I think that there's a difference between a community and a school community. And I want Holston Middle School to belong to a school community. I do not want this school to be fractured and fragmented. I don't want to have 7 elementary schools coming in to then us feeding 5 high schools, where we're not a majority in any high school. Whether we're a part of the Gibbs High School community or a part of the Central High School community, and then we've got a great rivalry with Gresham, I mean, I don't mind. I know personally, but I know the kids here, the parents in this community, and I think the teachers here too, and me, and our great administrative staff, we deserve to be a part of a school community and not just sort of dangling in the middle, fractured in every single direction. So that's what I want to say. I think that's, hearing from some of us, that's what we would like to see. Thank you.
Folks, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Katie, thank you for hosting our meeting. And I will look forward to continuing the process with you all. Please drive safely. Good night.